Boruto episode 101, Jugo's Reinforcements. So, this episode, finally, we get the new opening for the series. I'm very surprised that they put it at 101 instead of doing it at, episode 100 to kind of celebrate and, have that be the new thing. But I guess their marking for it was like, all right, this episode to 100 is this, and then 101, becomes like the new thing to, whatever, however long we have this new opening as well as new ending. I enjoy both. I like the opening more than I like the ending. I don't particularly care too much for either song, if I'm being totally honest. But I do like the opening more than I like the last one. I like the song more in the last one, and the visuals were great for the last one. But the opening for this season, I think is fantastic. Like, it is really good as far as like nostalgia stuff. Best scene in the whole thing. I rewound it because they do it so fast. Like, they don't even really draw attention to it. But it's the best scene in the entire opening, and it's the Rasengan scene where it goes through all the characters that have used it. So it goes from Minato to Jiraiya to young Naruto. It's not like older Naruto. It's young Naruto and young Konohamaru, and then it goes to Boruto at the end. And I was like, that's a fantastic moment. And like I said, they don't really draw attention to it. You just see people's arms until it gets to Boruto and it shows him entirely. But I love that. I was like, that is great. And you see that stuff a lot. We've had in other volumes or other seasons where it's like Naruto through the different ages and stuff. And that's what I thought for a split second, because I was like, well, it went so fast. Who are the characters that I'm seeing? Like, was it going through Naruto during the different, his different stages and stuff, and then it transitions to his son, of course. But it was like, nope, it's going through all the people that have had it. And I thought it was interesting that they chose young Naruto as well as young Konohamaru. So I was like, okay, that's very interesting that they chose to go with those versions of the characters. And I guess it's because technically they learned it when they were kids, and we never see Minato as a kid learn it, or Jiraiya learning it as a little kid either. So it shows them as the adults, and then it transitions to like the first time we saw characters learn it. So it's young Naruto, young Konohamaru, and then of course Boruto. So love that sequence. Thought it was great. It seems like what they have in the opening, there's a sequence where like a bunch of different characters are fighting. Once again, they did this in the last one. Like I said, like they didn't do any of that awesome freaking crap that they showed in the opening. I was like, man, they're going to bring the Sand Kids back. They're doing this and doing that. None of that effing happened. So I'm hoping that this season actually does what they do in the opening, because it seems like a bunch of characters were fighting. I only watched the opening once. I probably should have watched it a few more times before doing the review, since I was going to spend so much time on this. But it seemed like they had, I want to say Naruto and Sasuke were there during the fight sequence, as well as maybe some other adult characters. And it seemed like they were fighting characters that had like giant, it almost seemed like they had like robot parts attached to them, because one person had like a giant like claw arm or something crazy like that. But I was like, all right, this looks pretty cool. They got some decent action going on. They're showing some cool nostalgia stuff. The Rasengan thing through the generations. They have Naruto where they show like the young version of Naruto, and then they show adult Naruto, and same for Sasuke. There's like Sakura. But it's a classic, I guess. But I loved it. I was like, all right, this is super cool. I'm liking the animation. I thought it was cool. We get to see characters fighting. They showed Konohamaru was one of the characters. Like, they show him fighting other people. I was like, okay, all of this action looks really cool. The Rasengan scene is my favorite scene. The song I just thought, like I said, was just okay. I like the last song better. But as far as like visually, and how they kind of hit you with some of the nostalgia, if you're, of course, an older fan of Naruto. I think in general, people that got into Boruto without seeing the previous series could still enjoy this opening. I think it's really good, just as a whole. But it does hit you, of course, if you're a bigger fan of the series. Specifically, like I said, the Rasengan scene, without a doubt, it has a much greater impact if you've watched the whole series compared to you just got in, with Boruto, because you wouldn't even know, because I don't think they've technically, I'm sure they have somewhere, I've already forgot with 101 episodes, but I'm sure somewhere down the line, I know they did it for Sasuke, because I complained about it recently. Like, I'm tired of having seen that old flashback with him and Itachi. So I know I know people have seen young Sasuke, but I believe somewhere in there they had to have thrown in, the kid version of Naruto as well. But I thought that was really cool. I was like, I love that scene. The action seems cool. They definitely hit a ton on the blending of Naruto and Sasuke into Boruto's like character arc, where they have him when they do like a thing where he's attacking like one of the enemies. He comes down with the Rasengan, but I noticed he had like a katana like in his hand. So I was like, all right, so is he about to get a katana or something, or is that just like a random thing? Because I was like, I think that's I think that scene comes after they show like Naruto, like the young Naruto and then the young Sasuke and how they grew up and stuff. And then it cuts to Boruto dropping down with the Rasengan in his right hand, but he's holding a katana in his left. And if I'm not mistaken, Sasuke has his left hand, and he lost his right hand. Naruto lost his left and replaced it. So I was like, all right, definitely some clear imagery going on here. I don't know if that's official. Like I said, they did a whole freaking ice dragon deal with the kids from the Sand Village coming back, and not a single drop of that happened in the last season. So it could literally just be like, oh, I'm making all these connections, and then none of this even happens. But I'm hoping that the secret organization that the characters are dealing with right now do evolve into whatever, all the crazy stuff that we saw in the opening. So that's my hope for that. I spent way more time kind of recapping the opening than I anticipated, but I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Like I said, the ending is just kind of meh to me. I thought it was just okay. Didn't really care much for the song, and the visuals aren't nearly as cool as the opening. They do. It reminded me a lot of actually the very first ending, where they have like the crazy hyper stylized colored background, and then the characters are kind of just running through it. That's what it made me think of. And it had like the characters, they would do a pose, and then they would like basically like tear away from their own shadow, and they would do like the little shadow silhouette thing. I was like, okay, it's kind of cool. We see other characters here and there. I did love, I can't remember if it was, I think it was in the opening again, Boruto training with Himawari. I thought that was super cool. Like, I think that was the beginning of the opening. I was like, I already love this more just because I got to see the two of them actually training together. I just thought that was freaking amazing. So I love that. Once again, like, there's a lot of actual action, like fighting and training and stuff in this opening. So I really loved it. But ending is fine. Nothing super special about it. But love the opening. Wish I liked the song a bit more. But as far as a visual standpoint goes, you get to see Boruto training with his sister, which is great. Boruto training with Sasuke, where he was about to like just facepalm him, but he was training, so he stopped. And I like that scene because he like realized his mistake, and he kind of looks at Sasuke and he laughs. And I was like, something about that I just thought was really good. It was just like that playful element, and like he's seriously training, but he's like, oh crap, you're like, yeah, I screwed up, sorry, sensei. So I thought that was really awesome, and then just in general all the other cool action stuff. So love the opening. But to get to the official episode review for this one, decent episode. That was pretty decent. Not much of a surprise. It's like, obviously, Jugo's reinforcements were naturally cunning Suigetsu. Suigetsu does do like the giant arm thing. I don't think that's something we ever saw before. It's nothing I can recall. But as usual, something happens with Suigetsu where a part of his arm is taken off. Like they like cut his arm off right off the top, and then he just replaces it. And I was like, they do that so much because that's like his character. He's like the one character who is 100% like impervious to damage. Like he's always, honestly, they don't really, I feel like they've never officially explained that, because it's not like, oh yeah, like water clones and stuff. This dude gets like bashed in the head and stuff. Like when he's first introduced, if I'm not mistaken, there's a fight scene where like they bash his head off, and it's just like, it's just water. Like he's made of water, and it's so weird. I was like, he's more unique than I feel they ever really like focus on for his character, because I'm like, he's been like messed up in all sorts of weird ways, and it's just like, yeah, I just need to drink some more water and I'll basically reform. And I'm like, that's more than like some clone jutsu crap. Like he's literally like walking, talking, sentient water. He's like what is it? He's freaking Chaos from like Sonic Adventures. Like he's just made of water. He just looks like a person, and it's really weird. They've never truly gone into that, but we see a new ability with him with the giant arm thing. It did make me think of One Piece. I don't know if I was the only person, because I was like, I would love to see that without the cloak on, and like would his arm be skinny then it gets fat, because I'm like, they can't do that too much because everyone will be like, that's One Piece. But that's what I thought of like later in the episode. I just happened to think of it. I was like, what would that have looked like if they didn't have the cloak on? And it would have been One Piece. Like his arm would have been skinny, then it would have been all crazy Popeye thing. And I thought that was cool. We got to see that. Karin talks about her power, which, whatever. They don't use her power, which I also thought was dumb. Like, they referenced it, and then they didn't use it on Sumidi when she wakes up, and they're like, you should rest still. And she's like, no, I'm fine, I'm gonna go. And I was like, okay, she's gonna use her power now. She's gonna be like, if you bite me, you'll be like totally revitalized, Sensu Bean style, like DBZ. And then nothing happened. And I was like, that's dumb. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, she literally said it when she was knocked out. Like, man, if she could bite me, she'd be totally revitalized right now. And then when they had the opportunity, when she wakes up, we don't have a single scene where she's like, just bite my arm, and then you'll be at 100% strength. And I was like, that makes no sense. It's like a little thing. Like, why bother even telling people that if you're not going to show, you use it? Especially when it makes sense within the story. Like, just have her bite your arm. Like, anyone would have thought that. I'm sure there are young kids who were like, why didn't she bite her arm to get stronger? So I thought that was dumb. I was like, why didn't they just have her do that? But Karin and Sada are gonna end up being the lures. Boruto, Suigetsu, as well as Sumidi go in. I like totally was trying to blank on her name. They go in to rescue everybody. So Konohamaru disappears. We see that when the guy tries to stab him. I thought Konohamaru was gonna show up, and it was gonna be like, oh, they already got him, or something happened. I thought he was gonna be in the episode, but it turns out he's gone. Like he escaped on his own. Like he figured out something was weird, and so he already left. Because obviously we find out by the end that Mr. Tosaka or Tokasa, I can't remember exactly which one it is. Turns out he's the bad guy. He's the one who owns the entire organization. He's the one who set up everything. He knew what was going down. He knew about the curse mark. He knew it was rare. He's the bad guy the whole way through. And I was like, huh, that's a bit of a twist. I knew that was the case as soon as they walked in to get Jugo and he like opened the door and left it open. I was like, villain move. Something's about to happen. And then he knocks him well, he doesn't knock him unconscious because he's doing his villain speech in the promo for the next episode. But I was like, okay. Turns out he's been the bad guy the whole time. But Konohamaru's gone, so we'll probably see him come back and do like a surprise rescue for Boruto and Suigetsu, as well as Jugo, technically. And then we have the girl out of the twins. She's going to be fighting Sada and Karin. And then we have the guy who backtracked and he was like, oh, here you are, which I don't know why Sumidi was like, it seemed like she was following the path, but I guess technically she could have been anywhere in the forest. But she gets Nami and Wasabi. She cures them, so you see the markings are still there, but they're going away. And then they get ambushed, and now they're probably going to get beat up. But since Konohamaru made his escape, which I don't know if he's cured or if he's just that good, like he's just super strong. Maybe he found the cure as he was trying to make his escape, and so he's good. But he's gone, so we're gonna see him pop up somewhere. So either he's been rescued by a third party that we haven't seen, or he's just out there. Like he made his escape, even though he was weak. He was like, I have to get out of here, but he knew he couldn't fight back, so that's why he just disappeared in the middle of the night. So we're gonna see something with him. Like he doesn't show up in the promo, but he's out there somewhere now. And obviously they didn't know that he'd made his escape, and obviously that wasn't a part of the plan because the guy went in to kill him, so they didn't know that he left. It wasn't like a thing where they moved him somewhere. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with him, especially if he is in a weakened state. I'm curious how that'll kind of mess around with the action a little bit and what he can and cannot pull off. Sumidi, of course, going back into the fight, not having bitten Karin, she's probably still a bit weakened. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. And of course, Karin and Sada are having to fight the one girl as she's in her curse mark stage as well. Seems like it's going to be some pretty tough battle. So I'm definitely looking forward to how the characters end up surviving. I think the tension is decent, even though, of course, we know they aren't going to die. I'm very curious how they're going to make it really work. So a weakened Konohamaru comes in to help maybe Karin and Sada. He finds them first, so they take down, the girl, and then they end up going to Sumidi, Wasabi, and Namida while they're trying to, fend off the guy. And, Sumidi's trying to protect her friends and using Nue and stuff. What the F are they doing up there? But maybe that's what we'll end up seeing in the next episode. So I am actually looking forward to it. I like the twist. Admittedly, I didn't think about it being that way because I guess it makes sense to hold it off, but it was just like, okay, that's interesting. I guess he was kind of being cool, like letting them go because he was like, well, I don't give a crap about these kids, so whatever. But then they came back and it was like, oh, well, now you're in my way. And that's when he has to reveal that he's the bad guy because they were actually close to succeeding and ruining his plan. So it was kind of interesting. It was like, okay, they held it off for an episode. And I think I mentioned it, like, he could end up being the villain, like, we don't really know. But it just seemed like, considering the character that he'd been the whole time, it really was decent. It was a decent twist where it was like, okay, this dude was just like, he wasn't like the bumbling idiot. He was just like the weird guy who seemed to legitimately be helping them. And it's like, all right, I'll stay here. I'll do what I can to kind of help out, your team. And then it turns out he's the villain the whole time. So I was like, all right. I actually thought it was a fairly decent plot twist for his character to actually be the bad guy because it didn't seem like he was overly stupid, which is what I feel like most anime do, where it's the character that's super, super dumb or like just ridiculously silly. And he was weird because he would taste poop and stuff like that. But sometimes I feel like they focus so much on like, this is the super dumb filler comedy relief character, and then it's like, surprise, I was the villain all along. But I feel like the fact that they played him like kind of silly, but for the most part he was actually pretty calm, I think that's what made it a twist. Because normally in anime, that specific type of character, the archetype is that they're seen as so silly and over the top that that's what's supposed to make you think they'll never be the bad guy. But he was played right down the middle, like he was silly and weird, but ultimately not to the point where it was like, it seems like he's faking it, like he's acting so weird. He was just like, yeah, I do this weird stuff, I know this, I know that, and he knew all the knowledge too, so it seemed like that was be weird to be an act, but it was also an act. He's just that good. So I like the way they handled it. That was a decent twist, even if it's minor, because it's like they're gonna win. And ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, it's like plot twist be damned. They're gonna beat the dude. They're gonna free Jugo. It's fine. Everything's fine. But to see it play out, I was like, okay, I don't hate that. Decent little twist. It actually worked because the character was so mellow. So I enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next episode. But of course, we'll love to know what you all thought about this one. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. Naturally, would love to know your thoughts on the plot twist. Did you see it coming? Did you not see it coming? Did you feel like me, where it was at least decently a surprise, mostly due to the fact that they didn't play him up as like so stupid? Honestly, all I keep thinking of right now is Devil May Cry 3. That's like the perfect example in my head where the character was so over the top. It was done very differently in that sense. So it was actually done quite perfectly because that was just insane and weird and you never expect that. So that was done differently, but that's what I think of where the character was just so crazy over the top. But in this case, it was, played right down the middle, very chill. So I liked it, but we'll love to know your thoughts on the twist. And of course, want to know what you guys thought about the new opening, new ending, visuals, nostalgia bombs as far as the opening. The ending didn't do that too much, but the opening definitely did. So we'd love to know your thoughts on the opening, the ending, and the plot twist, and of course, this episode in general. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.